Hello children, how are you doing? I'm sure you're doing really well and learning so much new every day. Children, do you know about strength? What different kinds of strengths do we have? बच्चों, क्या आपने सोचा है एक फिजिकल स्ट्रेंथ होती है, एक ताकत होती है और एक दिमाग की ताकत भी होती है जो कि बहुत ज़रूरी है. So let's read a story and enjoy it today about mental and physical strength both. The title of the story is The Tug of War. One day, Mr. Rabbit was taking a walk through the jungle. Suddenly, he ran into Mr. Elephant, who was making a fine meal of treetops. एक दिन मिस्टर रैबिट मिस्टर एलिफेंट से मिले जो कि मज़े से चीज़ें खा रहा था, पत्ते खा रहा था. A fine meal of treetops. Hello, brother, said Rabbit. Fine day, isn't it? Elephant paused to look down at the tiny little creature at his feet and snorted. Leave me alone, Rabbit. I don't have time to waste on someone so small. हाथी ने उसे झटके से डांट दिया और बोला, मेरे पास वक्त नहीं है, टाइम नहीं है तुम छोटे से जानवर के लिए. That was very rude, isn't it? Rabbit was shocked to be talked to in such a manner. He felt insulted, but he wasn't sure what to do. So he left quietly to go and think about what had happened. As he walked along, he saw mighty whale far out to sea. Children, here the word mighty means very huge. Whale is usually very huge, बहुत ही बड़ी होती है. Mighty whale. He decided to ask her what she thought about Elephant's rudeness. He cupped his tiny paws and yelled as loud as he could, Whale, come here. Children, here yelled means to shout or to scream. Yelled. Whale swam over to see who was calling her and looked about. After a few minutes, she could see tiny little Rabbit jumping up and down on a cliff. Rabbit, Whale said impatiently, did you just call me over here? Impatiently, children, here means when we don't want to wait. Patience नहीं दिखाते हैं हम. Impatiently. Of course, said Rabbit. Just who do you think so you are? You are far too small and weak to have anything to say to me. Whale turned back, flipped her huge tail and set off back into the deep ocean. बच्चों, whale ने भी बिल्कुल elephant की तरह ही behave किया, वैसे ही rudely, और rabbit को कुछ भी नहीं समझा. But just then Rabbit had an idea. He called out to her once more time. Whale, you think that I am weak, but in fact I am stronger than you. You wouldn't be so quick to ignore me if I beat you at tug of war. बच्चों, Rabbit ने हार नहीं मानी और उसने whale को फिर कहा कि तुम मुझे एक गेम tug of war में हरा कर दिखाओ. Whale looked at him in surprise for a moment before falling into a fit of laughter. Children, fit of laughter here means to laugh very, very loudly. Whale उसकी बात सुनकर जोर-जोर से हंसने लगी. Fit of laughter. Very well, little one, said Whale. Go, get a rope and we will see who is stronger. Rabbit ran off to gather up the strongest and thickest rope he could. When he found it, he went to Elephant and said to the giant animal, Elephant, you had no cause to treat me with such discourtesy this afternoon. I shall have to prove to you that we are equals. बच्चों, Rabbit के दिमाग में कुछ न कुछ गेम तो चल रहा था, कुछ प्लान था. अभी वो whale के पास गया और अब वापस elephant के पास आया उसे challenge करने के लिए. Here the word discourtesy means being impolite or very, very rude. Discourtesy. Elephant looked down and chuckled. And how will you do that, small one? Here again, the elephant was making fun of him. That's why the word chuckled. धीरे से हंसना. Rabbit stood up as high as he could, looked Elephant right in the eye and said, "By beating you at a game of tug of war." Elephant was amused. Elephant को ये बहुत ही मजाक लगा कि एक छोटा सा रैबिट मुझे गेम पर हराने की बात कर रहा है. He laughed so hard that he nearly choked on his leaves. However, he thought to make some fun of the tiny animal. So he agreed and tied the rope around his huge, hefty waist, snickering all the time. Children, here the meaning of the word hefty means very, very heavy, and snickering means when you laugh at somebody in a very mocking manner. Snickering and hefty. Rabbit took the other end of the rope to Whale and said, "Tie this to your tail, and when I say pull, you swim with all of your might." Whale tied the rope to her tail, all the while smirking at Rabbit's foolishness. Rabbit को वो बहुत ही foolish सोच रही थी कि इतनी बड़ी मैं whale हूँ और मुझे ये रस्सी दे रहा है, मैं तो उसे हरा दूंगी. वहाँ elephant भी कुछ ऐसा ही सोच रहा था. "I will now go and tie the other end to my own waist," said Rabbit, and hopped off into the jungle. Rabbit hid in the bushes and then called out at the top of his voice, "Pull!" Rabbit झाड़ियों में छुप गया. उसने दूसरा सिरा अपनी वेस्ट अपनी कमर पे बांध लिया और जोर से चिल्लाया, "पुल!" खींचो. Elephant started to walk away with a smile on his face. But the smile soon turned to a look of surprise when the rope stopped following him. "My goodness," he said to himself. "Rabbit is much stronger than I expected." बच्चों, यहाँ elephant actually में किसको खींच रहा था? Whale को. और उसने सोचा वो एक नन्हे से rabbit को खींच रहा है. तभी उसने कहा कि ये तो मैंने expect ही नहीं किया था. Rabbit तो बहुत strong है. The look of surprise soon became a frown as Elephant pulled harder and harder, unable to make the tough rope budge any further. Children, here the meaning of the word frown is to change the expression as in difficulty or anger. When you have, these lines over your forehead, that is called frown. Meanwhile, Whale began to swim away from the shore but almost lost her breath when the rope pulled tight and refused to come with her. She pulled harder and harder, but she could not pull it any further. "That little rabbit could not possibly be stronger than me," she said in anger. She pulled harder and harder, and soon the rope could not take no more strain, and with an ear-splitting sound, snapped into 2 pieces. वहाँ पे whale भी उस रस्सी को खींचती जा रही थी, लेकिन वो एक नन्हा रैबिट तो खींच ही नहीं रहा था. एक बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग एलिफेंट खींच रहा था. तभी खींचते खींचते उस रस्सी के 2 टुकड़े हो गए. When this happened, poor elephant went sailing through the jungle and tumbled head over heel down a steep valley. जब ऐसा हुआ तो एलिफेंट लुढ़कते हुए एक डीप वैली में गिर गया. That's why it said tumbled head over heel. The end that was tied to Whale caught up to her suddenly, and she went sailing through the ocean and smashed into a very scratchy and very uncomfortable coral reef. The same thing happened with the whale. She also stumbled along. Whale भी बहुत ही ज़ोर से एक जगह गिरी और जो कोरल रीफ थी बहुत ही खुरदरी और स्क्रैची, वहाँ जाके उसे चोट लगी. Rabbit left without a word and never mentioned the matter again. Elephant and Whale were completely confused and never did figure out how such a tiny creature as Rabbit could have beaten the largest of the animals. रैबिट ने इस बात का जिक्र किसी से नहीं किया, उसने इस बारे में किसी को कभी भी कुछ नहीं बताया। और एलिफेंट और व्हेल हमेशा सोचते रह गए कि आखिर एक छोटे से रैबिट ने हमें कैसे हरा दिया। एंड टू दिस डे they are very careful to greet little rabbit with great respect whenever they meet. जब भी वो दोबारा रैबिट से मिले, उन्होंने कभी भी उससे रूडली बात नहीं की और हमेशा अच्छे से ग्रीट किया। So children, this was the amazing story with a very useful lesson that we should not treat anybody with disrespect. Everybody is important, no matter how tiny or big we are. I'm sure you enjoyed the story. Read it again and attempt the book exercises.